Welcome to The Wine Down, an afternoon podcast where two techie blokes sit down over a bowl of wine and chat about what's happening in the world of tech. Enjoy while Scott and Nick open up about their week in technology.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to The Wine Down. I'm here with...
Scott.
Hello, Scott. So just in a mouthful of wine, I got you right at the right moment there. How are you, sir?
You did. Hello, how are you going?
I'm good. And this on the week where something amazing happened.
Yes.
You ready for the amazing thing? Microsoft announced that Windows 11 will be available on October the 5th.
That's excellent. I'm excited.
Isn't that amazing? Another amazing thing is it's a free upgrade, which is kind of exciting. And the totally amazing thing is it's 4 months early.
So what does that mean?
What do you mean? What does it mean it's 4 months early? It came out 4 months before they said it would initially.
Okay, well, look, Windows 11, we'll probably have to have a separate discussion about this, but Windows 11, what does that mean? Why do I need it? What's it going to do for me?
Oh, yeah, and there's some super cool, really useful stuff in Windows 11, which I think is going to be amazing. But we should do a session on it. I've already done a podcast with CRN Magazine where we talked about it. I've been running it for a while now. But let's do a proper one where we sit down and we talk about Windows 11. What is it? Why should you upgrade? Why should you go up to it? But it's got cool stuff in it. I really like it.
It does. I noticed the windows are rounder now.
The Windows got rounded corners, but that's just a little tiny aesthetic. And the start menu looks a bit more like a Mac, but that's just an aesthetic too.
I noticed that too.
But being able to run things like Linux apps, native graphical Linux apps natively in Windows Services for Linux, having an app store that works with Android applications straight onto your Windows device, suddenly opens up just an enormous gamut of things you can do. And I it's got a bunch of other things under the hood as well, but I'm a super fan of the product line. I think it's really cool, and for me
this is great. I've been looking for ways to run Android malware on my Windows machines.
There we go. It's all security with you, isn't it? Anyway. Let's begin. Obviously, we're in lockdown, but I'll do where are you? What are you drinking?
Where are you? Yes, strangely, I'm at home again today. How about that? But this is something I picked up, when I last actually drove down to see a client, which seems like a long, long time ago now in vague memory, but I had to go down to the New South Wales-Victorian border around the Albury area. And passing through Gundagai, stopped off there and found, there's a winery. Barumba.
There we go. Let's not
sure
just make you bigger so everyone can see. So that's the Barumba Moonlight.
Barumba Moonlight. And, it's interesting because I've always sort of said, look at the back of the bottle and see how the wine's described and look at it. And if it's not really there saying what it's all about, it's probably not that great. And this one talks all about Captain Moonlight.
Excellent.
How he was in the area and doesn't actually talk about the wine. There's a bit of a warning right up front.
Well, I'm at home too.
It's not bad though. It's not bad for an area not known for grapes. But
I'm not going Cab Sav. I'm going one of these.
Ooh, Bin 555.
Bin 555 2016.
Yes.
It's not.
I haven't seen that in a while actually.
No, I found it at good old Dan Murphy's. So there you go.
Yeah. It's red.
There we are. It's red, it's Shiraz, and it's perfect for the wine down. Now, today, following on from the Accounting Technology Fireside Chat, which we recorded today, but you're all going to see tomorrow, we were talking about, and the reason this came up is someone Trevor was working with is really suffering under lockdown because they haven't moved to the cloud, and they had a server break, and suddenly all their users can't work.
Ooh.
And Victoria's a bit different. IT people aren't essential workers, so it's very hard for somebody to get in and fix the device. And yet that's kind of stuff doesn't happen when you've got stuff in the cloud. So this, I thought we'd have a conversation about, everybody's saying, you should move to the cloud. There's Rod Drury from Xero standing on stage saying, if it's not in a browser, it's not in the cloud. And there's all this rubbish spoken about cloud computing. But fundamentally, let's discuss whether as a business you move to the cloud or you don't move to the cloud. If you don't move to the cloud, what will happen? And if you do move to the cloud, what will happen?
Yeah, look, and we should sort of preface this. There's nothing forcing anyone to move to the cloud. It's not. There's certainly a lot of business benefits to be had, but no one's saying unless you do this, the world is going to end for you.
However, yeah, I agree, but I reckon I'd counter that with we're starting to see guys like Microsoft with their traditional products like Exchange or SharePoint starting to give us snifters that this may be the very last version. That you won't be able to buy.
I remember that very last version message from quite a few years ago, and they still produce further versions. But still, if you are not in the cloud today, I mean, it's not the end of the world. You can still run, but you'll probably find that there are certain things that are going to become harder and harder for you.
Yep.
I'm just thinking the applicability of older technologies to your business when your competitors are using all the new features and functions that are automatically available to them without any effort.
Yep.
You're also probably likely to have trouble getting technical skills in some of the older technologies.
We were chatting amongst the team about this wind down today, and we were going, what about moving to the cloud? And Jason, who we will get on a wind down at some stage, went, it's getting harder and harder to find technical people who can manage on-prem systems.
It is. Mind you, we were speaking to somebody the other day, weren't we? And they said they had a client looking for a COBOL programmer.
Yes. Well, you still get that in some places. There's still COBOL code running around. I know a COBOL programmer, actually, if you need one, but not me. Not me.
His name's
way too young. His name what?
Gandalf. I just think of COBOL programmers now as these people with old white beards going, "Oh, I can code that for you." Anyway.
I knew it was a valid direction you could take in computer science when I started in the industry. And if you haven't re-educated because it's been a good place to be for years and years, maybe there are still some out there. But yes, it's certainly the older doyens of our industry do that kind of stuff.
But having said that, these apps are still running and clearly providing some value to the businesses they are in.
Yeah, I'd say COBOL runs most of our finance systems, most of our governments, most of our core banking platforms. Absolutely.
And it's scary that it's difficult to migrate off.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, you see that anyway. I know we were talking about that the other day, and here's an interesting point, and I think this applies as much to anything as it applies to software. If you don't keep your software that you're writing up to date with current versions and standards, it gets exponentially harder and more expensive to get things up to date.
Yes, and one of the things that we also do from a software development side is we build software, but also maintain existing software. And some of that, as you've said, is actually it becomes quite cumbersome trying to add features or functions into code that is quite old.
Yeah, and it's funny, I like to work with my teams on code which is bleeding edge. So in our world, bleeding edge at the moment is .NET 6, which gets released in November, but we've been writing code in it for months now. And I find going back to .NET 5, which only came out last November in his current shipping version, a bit of a step back. But okay, .NET 5 to .NET 6 is the world's easiest upgrade. .NET 2 to .NET 6 is really hard. As we saw today when we had a 2003 server and I said, well, just in place upgrade it to 2019. And everybody around the room went, you what?
Yeah, I didn't have much hope for that process. I know it is documented as it's supposedly going to work okay, but yes. Anyway.
Yes, anyway.
It would be very interesting.
So staying on premises, you're going to get less and less software available to run on-prem, I think. You're going to get less and less access to technical talent because technical talent's not doing that stuff anymore, right?
Yes.
It's people who can remember how to do it. One of the things we talked about, and I'm interested to get your view on this. We talked about this in the fireside chat, was integrations. So you'll see now in the world of cloud, I can integrate Xero with 300,000 different applications, or it feels like that. Or I've got Microsoft Power Automate that integrates with another 1,000 things, but all of those things are cloud. None of those things are on premises. Do you think people on premises are missing an integration opportunity?
Well, possibly. I mean, and let's just sort of let me turn this around a little bit. Both AWS and Microsoft for their Azure stacks have an on-premises version.
Yes.
So they've got you can actually go and buy a rack full of hardware and servers, and Microsoft's Azure Cloud will actually run in that for you. The same with AWS.
Yeah, cloud's not, and let's talk about what cloud is. Cloud isn't necessarily public cloud, right?
Correct.
Cloud can be all sorts of things, but there's a bunch of things that go with cloud. And let me try and explain it, at least from my point of view. It's software-defined infrastructure and platforms. It's me being able to go to some software and say, give me this network, give me these machines, give me this, that, and the other, and the software builds them and maintains them and does that kind of thing. Not physical spinning disks and racks and not that kind of stuff. So it's that. And I remember working with the NAB years and years ago, and we were really excited because we got provisioning a server down from 4 weeks to 2 days. In the cloud, provisioning a server should be 10 seconds.
It should be. It should just be clicking, away you go. So, I mean, not the AWS Outpost concept. Yes, you can, if you've got either like a geographical issue or you've got a security issue where you don't want your data to be outside of your physical location, yes, it will run on these structures. But having said that, you've also got access to all the modern applications and things that people are developing and all the services that go with it. It's very different to having, I'm just going to get one of these things, create my little private cloud and run my old virtual machines on it. You're still maintaining and managing your own infrastructure, and one day it's going to run out.
And it's going to break, and it's going to fail, and you're going to end up in trouble. But one of the key things in cloud is software as a service, right? Microsoft aren't going to give you a copy of Office 365 to run.
No,
in your environment.
They're not.
They've done it for the Chinese government, right? So, and that's big bucks. So they're not going to do it for us. But you're not going to get a copy of Zero to run on premises or in your AWS Outpost, right? So software as a service, I think, is an interesting space as well. In SMBs, Scott, which I know is where you work, do you see more of a gravitation towards software as a service rather than the old, I'll buy and implement and run it on infrastructure type stuff?
It's, for most modern decisions, it's the only thing being looked at, because a lot of the SMB businesses don't have the IT resources they need to be able to do anything otherwise. You don't have people who will go in and set up servers and install applications and maintain them. And it's sure you can engage an IT company as a managed service provider or whatever for it, but you'd be looking at, hang on, why am I doing something new today that is really like on an architecture that's 20 years old? Why am I not using a cloud-enabled version of this where it's probably the same price or even cheaper? But I don't have to worry about running at the power. I don't have to back it up. I don't have to configure it. I don't have to look at the disk space on it, put more drives in, and someone doesn't have to come in and do all these maintenance tasks all the time. And why am I doing that in the first place? It's simplicity. That's the whole thing.
Okay, so simplicity is one of the reasons. You also hear from customers, but I've got legacy application X, or my favorite one from SMBs, but I'm unique.
Everybody's unique. They're all unique right until the point at which they all use common software. And look,
the same way.
I'm unique. I use Microsoft Office. Yes, right. Look, there's always, I tend to find the majority of that reasoning is just from people who don't really understand what is available today, what's possible with modern technology. But look, having said that, there's quite a lot of happy Amish people out there, living without electricity.
Not using technology at all. Yep.
Yeah, they seem to be happy. They seem to get by. Hey, good on them. But I don't know if it's for me, but
I haven't tried it, so I couldn't tell you. I think disconnecting is always good for a little bit.
Actually, that's probably a good point. Actually, it does have a certain appeal to it, doesn't it?
Yes. We've been in lockdown too long, Scott.
Oh, USB. What's USB?
USB. We'll put a bar up. How about that?
Yeah.
Dear.
But this is just it. If you've got if you do have a business that, for example, is using a horse and cart to transfer things around the place, and all of a sudden the automobile comes out, and well, you can, very quickly you can do more in faster time with less resource and so forth. You'd really want to do that to make your business better. So the question would be, why are you really staying with your old applications that are heavier to maintain, that are taking more resources away from the business in other areas, just to maintain or keep that going? It's a strange sort of sensation.
Yeah, no, it is. But what about, so that's cool, right? Let's all go up to date. Let's all get modern applications. Let's all go to the cloud. Let's do everything SaaS. Let's upgrade from our copy of Windows 98 and Office 98 to something a bit more modern. What's this ribbon thing? And that brings me back down to, that's all very well. We've talked about the technology. What about the organizational change management? Because what I see is young companies, and I don't mean new companies, but companies full of young people adopt technology faster versus companies full of older people. And I consider myself an older person, so I think I can say this, right? That they're loath to adopt new things. He says, just about to install the latest beta of Windows 11, but there's lots of that barrier to change because, well, it's working. Why fix it? So
It
when
is
you're with a
working.
customer, why fix it?
Well, are we fixing it though, or are we making it more efficient and better and so forth? And you can sort of say, Carl, that's a bit of a strange argument. Is it really the truth, or are we just changing it? And look, in some cases, yeah, maybe we are just changing it. But in other cases, you look at it over time. All those changes over time are not just delivering the same result each time. They're delivering capacity and capability to do more with less. And you look at automated businesses today that are running with a very small number of people, but producing such a great result because they've embraced technology and getting the computer to do the work for them, versus what was that type of business looking like 20 years ago, and how many people were in there, and what were they doing? Were they doing things that you'd look at today and go, oh, really? You're using people to do that? No, that must be.
I saw a tweet this week because we're in lockdown, right? So I'm doom scrolling through Twitter, and I saw this tweet which says, "Describe your office from your first job." And I thought, well, that's fascinating. So I'll do mine. I worked in an accounting firm. We had a typing pool. I moved them from a green screen Data General mid-range device to using Windows and Novell NetWare. That was my project. And I introduced electronic mail. Not email like you know it that goes outside the office, but electronic mail inside the office to remove memos. We had a telex machine, right, which worked off the old telegraph system, which is for communicating with head office, and we had typewriters and those sorts of things, and people would produce accounts on typewriters for people, and that was my office. And there's a fair amount of smoking in the office as well, if I remember rightly. It was very, very different. You compare it to now. Remember, Bill Gates said his vision for Microsoft was a computer on every desk in every office in the world. Right? We were pre that, where you didn't have a computer on every desk. What did people do?
Well, apparently they smoked. I don't know, but today, if there's smoke in the office, your computer's probably running too hot.
Yes.
It's a big change, and there's no more of the old typing pool or typewriters.
Yes.
Although, to be fair, there are still typewriters around in businesses. I've seen them. It's an interesting sight. Yes. I find some businesses are very slow to change if you've got a working process. The efficiency concept is not perhaps a key driver for them. They've done a certain thing in the past that has gone and created a market segment for them. They've gone very well in that segment, and let's just do what we do. We found this pattern that works. Let's just keep doing it.
Yep.
But eventually, that pattern stops working for them. Whatever that process is they've developed, whatever that methodology that they're using to achieve that result, it stops working well after a time. Or the sort of economics 101, someone looks at that and says, "Ooh, I know how to do that. I can automate that whole thing and do it at like 1/10 of the cost. I'm going to spend a year working on that, and blah, 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 blah." And all of a sudden, there's a new entrant to the market. And you think, oh, hang on, competitors have come into our markets. We've battled competitors before. We understand this is okay. This is not a competitor. This is not another one of you. This is an entirely different paradigm shift of a new way of producing what you produce. Or it's a complementary product or something completely different that says, using our offering, we don't actually need what you produce anymore.
Yes.
And that's the trick. You've got to continually keep up. Otherwise, you'll go well for a period of time, but there's a slow trickle at the end of that curve. And it's a downward curve unless you keep innovating.
Yep. And disrupting yourself, they say.
Well, yeah, that's right. You've got to be your own biggest disruptor.
Yep. So the taxi industry is still here, but it's a shadow of its former self.
Yeah, and look, they've got to now created an app that sort of looks vaguely the same concept as the Uber app, but I think they've sort of lost the appeal of what that is. Because I think people have worked out it's not that they want a better way to get the old taxi. They don't want the taxi anymore. They want this new model.
Yep. And so their biggest detractor is now themselves, because people don't want that thing anymore. And I think that's fascinating. We see that a lot, right?
I'd even wonder, should they rename themselves? The concept of taxi is still that old, it's been around for 100 years sort of thing.
Yep.
Is it the older way of doing it now that the new way has come along?
Yes.
Go find some domain name that's not taken and put that in there and call it that. I don't know. You never know. Maybe that'll work really well.
Maybe it will. But yeah, you have to keep disrupting. That's the point. And so one of the things is you need to leverage as much technology as you can get your hands on to make that disruption happen, right? And I think our view is, and I could be wrong, but I think we share this, is you can do more of that in the cloud than you can with what's available to you on premises, at least what's available in most people's budget.
Oh, look, absolutely. Look, in the cloud, I can put a credit card in and for $50 a month or $100 a month, get access to massive amounts of technology that is there ready to use and run for me in all different areas. Versus if I had to go and do that by buying servers and infrastructure and consulting and business all these things, all of a sudden I've spent $250,000 to get something up and running, and I haven't done anything yet.
No, absolutely.
Why not just put the coin in the cloud computer and get it to do it for you?
That's the way to do it, I reckon. Coin in the cloud computer and off you go.
The virtual coin or the Bitcoin.
Oh, there we go. We should do a session on cryptocurrency, right?
There's been a lot that's been happening in the cryptocurrency side of things. There's countries that are adopting it as legal tender. There's all sorts of things.
Yeah, mine aren't going up though.
Yeah, it depends on if you got the dodgy coin or the.
I was going to say, dodgy coin is just one of my premium ones I've got. I've got really dodgy coin.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes the second or third or the 10th versions of something that comes out are not necessarily. It's a bit of a, hey, let's see what happens. All these others went up. I don't know. That's the best business plan.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't believe we've gone from talking about space lasers to talking about massive scale for MSPs in the last 2 episodes to talking about dodgy coins.
Well, maybe that's how you pay for the space lasers.
Maybe it is. That's very cool.
I see now businesses are buying gold as a hedging.
I've heard that. You might as well be hedging on gold. The big banks have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fascinating. Anyway, I think that was kind of cool. I think the message at the end of that is, if you're an SMB, go look at software as a service first. That's where you first start, and look to get yourself without infrastructure. You have to manage as much as you can so you can accelerate your business and disrupt yourself. Would that be a paraphrasing of what you said, Scott?
It would be. I think that'd be a very good way of putting it.
Cool. Excellent. Well, I think that will do. If you do like what you've seen or heard, please like or subscribe or comment. Leave us a comment to let us know what things you'd like us to cover in the future. This has been Scott and Nick and the Wind Down. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, everyone.
Cool.
See you soon.
Have a great day. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.